Good morning, guys. If you haven't been here before, welcome. My name is Rachel, and this is the weekly garden tour where I go over all the things that are happening in my garden, the good or the bad, and I talk about them and how I am solving problems or making decisions so that you as a gardener, and especially you new gardeners out there, kind of get perspective on how a garden actually works outside of the realm of look at this pretty thing I grew on social media. There are some parts of it that are getting to be overgrown and some parts that are just starting to grow. So let's get a little closer and see what we're working with. Alright, so I always start on this farthest right row, and right here at the front of it is my lemongrass, which I haven't looked at specifically in a few weeks, but it is doing really, really well. Also at the very front of the row here I have tomatillos. I have not pulled any ripe fruit off of these yet, but a fair few have dropped. And I'm finding usually they drop if something has started eating them. Like I've had a fair few that were kind of munched. This one doesn't look super munched at all, actually. I think I could probably wash this one off and use it. But definitely something has been chewing on these plants, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. This is kind of what I'm used to seeing here when the fruits fall off and I open them up. I think it's a caterpillar of some sort. I just haven't actually seen it. Past the tomatillos, we have the actual tomatoes, and these are doing so well. I still haven't harvested any. You can see the bottoms of these are still green. That's how I know they're not ready. But it's got to be soon, right? These big tomatoes ripening always takes longer than I think it's going to. And I'm actually really glad that they weren't any closer to ripe than they were, because last week we got so much rain. I think we got 6 inches or something. It was kind of wild. It was raining for 7 days straight, and that could really easily split your tomatoes. But luckily these were all in a state where they still had room to expand and grow, and they weren't already ripening, which is the point at which they might split if they were given too much water. Interspersed with the tomatoes, I've got some basil plants. I have started pulling a little bit from my basils. It's not really enough to do a whole big batch of pesto, but we do have actual surviving basil plants, which I wasn't sure I was going to after I transplanted all my transplants out, and then all of them got eaten down to not quite sticks, but very close to sticks. Oh, look at this one. This one I'm actually going to pull off because you see that bottom? That's not going to be good. However, it is the first tomato that is trying to blush, so that's a good sign that the rest of them are just around the corner of starting to ripen. I'm not entirely sure if this is blossom end rot. Usually blossom end rot would have a darkerness to it. This almost looks like something burrowed in there and started eating, but I'm not sure. Blossom end rot, if you do get it, it's usually a calcium deficiency, and often that's not a calcium deficiency in your soil. It is a deficiency in the plant's ability to uptake the calcium in the soil. So addressing that would not be as easy as just adding more calcium, for example. Usually it is some version of addressing the watering needs of your plants and just the overall health of the soil. Because as with people, plants also need certain combinations of nutrients in order to uptake everything and use it effectively. For pretty much everything, I don't usually recommend specific fertilizers. I usually am recommending adding a lot of good compost to your soil and trying to build the microbiome of your soil, all of the bacteria and fungi that live together in harmony to kind of keep the nutrient web really healthy. Although while I say it's normally not a calcium issue, definitely feel free to get that checked, because that could always be the issue, and adding more calcium to the soil might be the thing to do. Just for most people, usually it's a watering issue instead of a calcium issue. So right in here I have a pole bean coming up. This is a blue cocoa pole bean. The name says blue, but it's really purple. And I've grown these with my tomatoes. I think This will be the third year that I've grown these on the same trellis as the tomatoes. And they usually do really well sharing the trellis. And last year I only had 3 of these plants across the whole trellis, and they filled it up and also gave me buckets and buckets and buckets of beans. Okay, we're gonna move on to the second row, and right here at the front you can see all these tiny little bees in these flowers. These are lettuce flowers, and it is just absolutely gorgeous right here at the front, especially the way it kind of looks a little speckled. Also here at the front I have more tomatillos because I was experimenting with different types of trellising them, and I think the cage is mostly the way to go, but neither method has been actually super successful. I've got a lot of branches like kind of falling down and falling off no matter which method I tried to use. But also intermixed here we have some zinnias and some cosmos. And oh my gosh, so many bees on these tomatillos. If you didn't know, tomatillos are not self-pollinating the way tomatoes and peppers are, so you definitely need at least more than one plant, probably like 3 or 4, to get good pollination and actually get fruits on your tomatillos. Past all of that, I have this section of radishes that went to seed and started making these little pods. If you didn't know, these pods are edible. And you can like cook them up in stir fries or pickle them. I've been waiting for them to actually make mature seeds for me so that I have some seed stock for the fall. And they're being kind of slow about it because they are also in the way of these eggplants that I put here. And I've been kind of thinning them out as we go. Eggplants don't seem to be suffering too much, but I would like to be able to clean this whole area up sooner rather than later. But we still do not yet have any really mature pods on here. Right, and then past all of that, I have the potato patch. Last week, due to the rain, I did pull some while it was kind of wet outside. And that actually seems to have gone really well. I did leave some to pull after it had kind of dried out. And I pulled almost none of the sarpomeres because they were still much greener plants than the purple potatoes that were over here. And yeah, I can still see the potatoes poking up through here. They seem to be in good condition even with all of the water. I was just still a little worried, especially this one where the plant has entirely died back. It's like you can't even see it amongst the straw anymore. Something like this, I would be super worried about it just rotting in the soil, but that feels pretty firm. That doesn't seem to be the case. We've had a few dry days now, so maybe today or tomorrow I will go ahead and start pulling up some of the rest of the potatoes. Looking at the other side of things here now, these are the other eggplants that I have. They are looking really great. They are definitely bigger than the ones surrounded by radishes, and they have started to flower. I saw a flower last week over here. Let's see if that seems to have set. I think we have little baby fruit over here. I'll have to look at my notebook and see which type is which. I have like 5 different types of eggplant this year as opposed to my normal 2. So I'm very excited to try all of those out. And my peppers down here at the end have started making fruits as well. These are pretty good sized plants. Oh, I almost fell. And they're sweet peppers. There's one in the back. I think these are Ajvarsky because that is my favorite sweet pepper. I don't know if it's Ajvarsky or Ivarsky because I realized the Ivar sauce that I make, the beginning of that uses roasted red peppers, is the same letters as the beginning of the name of the pepper. So I definitely know that you're supposed to say that sauce that starts with AJ as Ivarsky or Ivar. So maybe the pepper is also Ivarsky pepper. I'll put the names on the screen for you so you can look them up. But that sauce, really great. Roasted red peppers with roasted eggplants. I have been eating that all winter long and it is just phenomenal every time, even out of the freezer. The next row here is the trellis row, but this sunflower from row 4 thinks that it can come steal the show here You can see it is about to open up some flowers. And it was so tall last week that I couldn't see if it was, but now it's because of the winds and the storms, it's kind of fallen over and I can see into it. On the other side of the trellis, I have this absolutely beautiful variegated nasturtium. If you didn't know, nasturtiums are edible. The leaves and the flowers both have this kind of like peppery taste to them. And this one in particular is just so beautiful. I'm really hoping to get a lot of good seeds from this and grow more of these next year. But I don't think I'll ever stop growing the traditional ones with like the red flowers and the solid leaves because they just look so much like little lily pads. It's so cute. As far as stuff growing on the trellises, I do have this cucumber that somehow out of all of the different cucumber seeds I planted escaped being eaten at all. And these beans that survived have finally started putting on enough growth that I feel like they're going to be okay. I think they're going to survive and actually start getting big enough to not really care about being munched on, which is nice. But if we go over here to the other side, I still just have the one. I did put in more seeds and then it rained a lot. And you can see some remnants of some that came up and got eaten to sticks again. That's really frustrating because I keep putting seeds in this area and I'm not sure if they're germinating well or not, because like if the stem got eaten, I would never know that this had come up at all. And it's kind of hard to find the stem here when you're looking among all the other stuff that's here. In one of these corners I also have a holy basil. And I've been cutting from this and drying it for later. It's a much stronger flavor than other basils, so I don't necessarily want to make pesto out of it. It's more of an aromatic or a medicinal kind of plant. There's not a lot going on at this second trellis either. I had planted a lot of blue butterfly peas and a couple of other like small squashes, and I'm pretty sure that this is one of those blue butterfly peas coming up. There's some more over here, but I have not seen any of the little baby squashes that I planted come up. Oh wait, that might be one. Maybe. Could also be another blue butterfly pea. I think it actually is. I think I remember getting confused when the last ones came up. So yeah, that is not the best, and I don't know what it is about these trellises that is either attracting the things that want to eat these little seedlings or making it really hard for these seeds to germinate, because in years past I haven't really had any issues with this at all. And this little area back here is mostly hot peppers now. There's a few volunteer potatoes that I've just been letting go. And ever since I pulled out the fava beans, they have seemed like they're taking off a little bit more. You'll notice there's a couple of extremely sad looking ones here, and these are actually recent transplants that they were extras and they got left on the porch to die, and they didn't quite die, but they're obviously not very happy. And I had some extra room, so I decided to stick them in, and we'll see if they recover. Like I was saying last week, I know if I don't plant them, they'll definitely die. If I do plant them, they might do okay. This fish pepper plant has been eaten on quite a bit, but it's definitely putting on new growth, so I think it'll be alright. And the rest of these, definitely not the robust plants that I'd hoped that they would be, but they're doing okay. Alright, we're going to move on to the fourth row now, behind where the sunflower is coming out. I did finally pull all the rest of the onions out of here. I had some that were second year onions that had gone to seed, and I finally had the time to pull all of that and start the seed collection process. I do still have a couple of kales in here that have done particularly well, haven't gone to seed at all. Also, I haven't mentioned them in a few weeks, but I did plant some sweet potatoes back here, kind of with the hope that they would kind of go wild back here near the weeds and not need very much maintenance. And they are growing, but not nearly as fast as if they were in a spot that was less shady. And I'm fine with that. I've got like 3 or 4 different plants down the row here. And I don't need that many sweet potatoes, so I think it'll be fine. Oh, look, we've got a friend here. This is not one of my cats, but it is a sweetheart. So in the front of the row here, I do have some sweet pepper plants. I am attempting to trellis them with these cages, which are tomato cages, but I don't usually use them for tomatoes. Right now I am having trouble getting them to stay stuck in the ground because this area actually has a lot of roots from this tree, but also the soil is pretty rocky, and every time I try and move them and shove them into the ground, I feel like I hit another rock, but maybe they'll work out. I've also got another couple of sad ones that I was like, well, maybe they can get new life here now that some of this other stuff has cleared out. And then farther down we have this Brussels sprout that went to seed a while ago that I really should be collecting the seeds from at this point, because you can see that these seed pods are full of mature seeds. It's also crowding out the poppies, which have been blooming. You can see all of these post-bloom little pods. I did not realize how fast poppies bloom. They are little flashes in the pan. That's one that hasn't bloomed yet. These are grape poppies, and they are really gorgeous. But they'll bloom and then they'll be done in like 2 days. Oh, hello. You just need all the attention, don't you? I realized with all the marigolds I had tried to plant and then got eaten, I do still have like a couple of, you can see over there, a couple of really healthy marigold plants with these absolutely beautiful flowers. Alright, time to venture over to the raised bed section and the volunteer pumpkin section. I've been trying so hard to keep the squash bugs off of these, but you can see the yellowing of the leaves here and the way they're crisping up. That's definitely squash bug damage because they suck the sap out. But we do have these fruits maturing down here, and I'm really hoping that I can keep this plant alive long enough for these fruits to actually be edible. Like, that would be really ideal. But if they're not, you know, like, this was a volunteer, I wasn't even planning on having this, so it's like already doing better than I expected because I expected nothing from it. And, you know, squash bugs, I guess they gotta eat too. They're not inherently evil. Oh, look at that. They're trying to make some more eggs down in there. Alright, so past whatever kind of squash this is, I keep calling it a pumpkin, but I'm just not sure. I've got my little fig tree, which seems to be doing pretty well. I've got all of this cilantro that went to seed. You can see these seeds are definitely ready to start getting pulled and saved. Also in here we've got some lavender, sage, parsley starting to really take off, some oregano going to seed, some thyme that has been flowering, and some Mexican tarragon that has been flowering. In some pots over here I have my mints. This is catnip, licorice mint, and I think, what is this one? Peppermint. I also forgot to show you guys, but hanging on one of my trellises I have a chocolate mint in a hanging basket. And these are sitting on concrete because I don't trust them not to send little roots out through the drainage holes and spread into the yard. I still haven't dealt with this giant kale taking up space over here, but my chamomile, parsley, and chives over here are less shaded out since I cut off those leaves, and are actually looking really quite good, whereas the stuff on the top here, not looking great. A couple of nasturtiums that just really try to bite the dust. This one might be coming back. And this lettuce, the lettuce loves it up here. This one I cut off at the base and it completely started regrowing from the base. And these are like really nice tender leaves. Probably won't be that way for long. It'll probably go straight to seed yet again. But I'm just confused why all the nasturtiums really hated it here and the lettuces liked it. Like, I don't know exactly what that says about the soil quality of the stuff that I dumped in here. Let's see, this is a Greek oregano, the other one was an Italian oregano. We've got a lemon thyme and more parsley because I definitely want to be able to make chimichurri sauce this year. Over here at the berry patch, lots of stuff going on. This blackberry bush is really escaping, and the the strawberries are also kind of escaping. They got munched on quite a bit by deer. You can see the tops of a lot of these stems are missing. Oh, there's a strawberry. Strawberries from this like second flush of strawberries seems to be much smaller than the first, and they're also more prone to being eaten than the first set of them. I've noticed it might be just the time of year and what is out and active, a little bit to do with the weather, because I think they're probably getting a little bit of slug damage. And I'm not entirely sure what would make these ones smaller than the first round or flush of strawberries. But I am still getting strawberries, and I can see flowers coming on, so it looks like there's going to be more. And that is like really confusing to me, because these are supposed to be June bears, which means that they put on all of their fruit at once. And that's supposed to be good for jams and stuff, where you really want a lot of fruit all at once. And these ones just keep putting on flush after flush of fruit, and I don't really understand it. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I'm just confused. The weeds have really started getting away from me over here. That is one of my blueberry plants, and all of this should be clear. But the grass just grows so aggressively. Like, if you've never seen Bermuda grass before, it sends out these vines, and it will go everywhere. It will go underneath this sidewalk concrete. It will go, like, I've seen it come up through my, like, 2-foot high raised beds. Like, it comes all the way up through that soil and manages to make it to the surface. So this stuff is just like, it's aggressive. It's really hard to control. And then once it gets away from you, it like explodes. So I think I'm going to have to come back through here with like some super heavy mulch and try and just like control it, because there's going to be no getting rid of it. Blackberries still producing pretty heavily. I showed you all those large branches with flowers, and then these older branches have tons of fruit on them. Been collecting them for jam. And the raspberries are actually coming into their second flush of fruit already. You can see little babies over here, and then over there I got a couple of ripe fruits the other day. So lots more raspberries to come. Oh, and I also have crabgrass, which does the same exact thing. It sends out these runners. It's not quite as aggressive as the Bermuda grass, which I feel like even a twig of this, like, you cut it off, you let it die, it is like fully dead looking. If you put that in the soil, it will like continue to grow, which is crazy. I just noticed Kata sitting on my gardening bench. Let's go say hi. Hello. I actually never see her sitting up here. For those of you who don't normally see this, this is made out of old Trex decking pieces, so it's like entirely weatherproof. It's been standing up really great. My dad made it for me, and you can go check out, he actually has a video on his channel about how he made it, which I can link for you in the description. But it's been good. It's been doing really well. The only thing is, I think these boxes, they're doing a good job of keeping my stuff protected, but the thing is, bugs like to live in these little handles. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it, Kata? So I've had to spray in here to keep stuff from living here, which I don't really like to do, but I would like to not accidentally put my hand into a black widow web. So as the sun is coming up, it is getting hotter out here. It's getting harder to be out here. I probably won't come out into the garden again until like late evening. But that is the end of the tour, and I just want to thank you guys for getting this far, and I also want to thank all of you who do like and subscribe to these videos. It really does make a difference. And an extra special thank you to those of you who are on my Patreon. If you didn't know that I have a Patreon, it's because I don't talk about it a whole lot, but I do have one, and I do have cool things like stickers that you can earn that are designed by like my friends for my specific garden. I have a Discord channel that you can join where you can share pictures of your garden with me, get like specific feedback and advice from me. So go check that out. It's always linked in the description below. And to all of you who have been on my Patreon for a while, I thank you so much. Moving to Patreon is what is going to make these videos more possible for me to do. And more possible for me to do more regularly, because I do have this other job that takes up a ton of my time that I would like to not do forever. So the more that I can move off of the little bits of ad revenue and onto something like Patreon, then the faster that I can get to the point where this is my full job and I can give you guys my full attention. Until next time, guys, happy gardening.